The Max Delta Hour, Episode 3, Build Your Base. Alright, Episode 1 was simple. The game is real. Episode 2 was the warning. The patch notes are real. And Episode 3? Episode 3 is what you do about it. Because once you realize the game is real, and once you realize the rules are changing while half the world is asleep, you have two choices. You can keep wandering around like an NPC, reacting to every update, every headline, every algorithm change, every price increase, every platform rule, every cultural mood swing. Or you can build a base, a real base, a home system, a fallback position, a place where your shit lives, a place where people can find you, a place where your work does not disappear because some platform decided the algorithm needed a little adjustment at 3 a.m. A place where your voice, your business, your ideas, your skills, your community, and your archive are not completely dependent on somebody else's servers, somebody else's rules, and somebody else's mood. That is what we are talking about today. Build your base, because the game is real, the patch notes are real, and if you do not have a base, you are exposed. You are out in the open. You are running across the map with no cover, no plan, no fallback, no repair kit, no ammo count, no idea where the next shot is coming from. And then when you get smoked, you act surprised. No, do not act surprised. The map was telling you the whole time. Welcome to the Max Delta Hour. I'm Max Delta, Army veteran, author, gamer, investor, builder of questionable but increasingly useful internet things. And this show is where politics, gaming, money, culture, technology, and real life all crash into each other. Not the polished corporate version, not the fake influencer version, not the I woke up at 4 a.m, drank a green juice, manifested abundance, and became a millionaire by lunch version. No, this is the raw version. The version where you look at your life and say, okay, what the hell am I actually building? What do I own? What do I control? Where do people find me? What happens if the platform changes? What happens if my job changes? What happens if my industry changes? What happens if AI changes the value of my skills? What happens if the economy tightens? What happens if the social media reach dries up? What happens if the rules change again? Because they will. The rules are always changing. The next patch is always coming. So the question is not, can I stop the patch? You cannot. The question is, did I build something that can survive the patch? That is the conversation today. Build your base. This episode is brought to you by Render North. And yes, I am proud as hell to say that. Because Render North is built around a simple idea. If you are a business owner, a creator, a gamer, a streamer, a contractor, a local service provider, or just somebody who is finally ready to stop living entirely inside other people's platforms, you need a real website. Not some bloated agency nightmare that takes 6 months, costs a small fortune, and somehow still looks like it was built during the dial-up era. A real, clean, modern website. Fast, responsive, easy to understand. Built around what you actually do. Built so people know who you are, what you offer, and how to contact you. That is Render North. Custom websites in 3 days or less. Up to 5 pages. SEO ready. Mobile friendly. Built for businesses, creators, and gamers who need a real home base online. Because here is the truth. Your Facebook page is not your base. Your TikTok account is not your base. Your YouTube channel is not your base. Your Twitch page is not your base. They are outposts. They are roads. They are signal towers. They are useful as hell, but you do not own them. The website is the base. The website is the place you send people when they say, what do you do? Where can I find you? How do I contact you? How do I buy? How do I listen? How do I book? How do I join? How do I take the next step? That is what Render North builds. And I am not saying every person needs a giant corporate website. Most people do not. Most people need something clear, something sharp, something alive, something that does not make them look like they gave up in 2011. So if you need a website for your business, your content brand, your stream, your side hustle, your local service, or your next project, go to rendernorth.com. That is rendernorth.com. Build your base. Stop renting every inch of your online life from platforms that can change the rules overnight. Render North. Custom websites in 3 days or less. Now let's get back to the show, why everyone needs a base. All right, so let's talk about why this matters. Because when I say build your base, I am not just talking about a website. A website is part of it, but the base is bigger than that. Your base is the part of your life that gives you stability when the world starts acting stupid. And the world acts stupid a lot. Your base is your skills. Your base is your money. Your base is your network. Your base is your health. Your base is your tools. Your base is your home. Your base is your reputation. Your base is your ability to think clearly when everyone else is panicking. And yes, your base is also your online home. Because in the modern world, if people cannot find you, trust you, contact you, buy from you, listen to you, watch you, or understand what you do, you are harder to support. You are harder to hire. You are harder to follow. You are harder to build with. And that matters. A lot of people are walking around with no base. They have a job, but no backup plan. They have social media, but no website. They have opinions, but no archive. They have content, but no system. They have debt, but no plan. They have skills, but no way to package them. They have ideas, but no place to put them. They have dreams, but no structure. That is not a base. That is a bunch of random loot scattered across the map. And when things are good, random loot feels fine. When the sun is shining, the market is hot, the job is stable, the platform is feeding you views, the money is coming in, and nobody is messing with your life, you can convince yourself you are fine. But the base does not matter when everything is easy. The base matters when the storm hits. The base matters when the algorithm dies. The base matters when the company lays people off. The base matters when the economy gets tight. The base matters when AI changes your industry. The base matters when the cost of everything keeps punching you in the mouth. The base matters when you wake up one day and realize the version of the game you were playing is gone. And that is the part people do not like. People want to believe tomorrow will basically look like yesterday, but it does not always work that way. Ask anyone who built their whole business on Facebook reach. Ask anyone who built their whole traffic plan on Google search. Ask anyone who built their entire income stream on one company, one platform, one boss, one customer, one industry, one rule set. Sometimes it works for a while, and then the patch drops. And suddenly the build that carried you for years does not hit the same anymore. The damage numbers are lower. The enemies are stronger. The map changed. The economy changed. The platform changed. The culture changed. The trust changed. The incentives changed. And now you are standing there going, what the hell happened? What happened is simple. You were playing without a base. In gaming, you understand this immediately. You need a spawn point. You need a place to repair. You need somewhere to store resources. You need a place to regroup. You need somewhere to fall back to when the fight goes bad. You need a place that is yours. Because if every single fight is do or die, you are not playing strategy. You are gambling. And yeah, sometimes gambling works. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you win the fight you had no business winning. Sometimes the other guy throws. Sometimes the system gives you a break. But luck is not a plan. A base is a plan. A base says, I know the map can change. I know the rules can change. I know the enemy can adapt. I know the economy can shift. I know the platform can turn on me. I know my job is not guaranteed. I know attention is unstable. I know comfort is dangerous. So I am going to build something that gives me options. Options are power. That is what a base gives you. Options. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They think building a base means you need to be rich. You do not. They think it means you need to have everything figured out. You do not. They think it means you need a giant business, a giant audience, a perfect brand, a perfect logo, a perfect plan, and a perfect life. No, that is nonsense. Building a base starts small. It starts with asking, where do I send people? What do I actually do? What am I good at? What am I building? What do I want to be known for? What can I control? What can I improve this week? What system can I put in place so I am not starting from zero every time? That is the base. It does not have to be perfect. It has to exist. Because once it exists, you can upgrade it. You can patch it. You can expand it. You can add rooms. You can add defenses. You can add storage. You can add a workshop. You can add a comms tower. You can add a damn flag on top of it if you want. But first, you need the base. That is why episode 3 is Build Your Base. Because the game is real. The patch notes are real. And if both of those things are true, then wandering around exposed is not bravery. It is bad strategy. Algorithms are rented land. Now let's talk about the platforms, because this is where people get uncomfortable. Social media is powerful. I am not pretending it is not. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, X, Discord, all of it. These platforms can change your life. They can help you find people. They can help you build an audience. They can help you sell. They can help you learn. They can help you connect with people you never would have reached 20 years ago. I am using them right now. The Max Delta Hour exists partly because these platforms gave me a place to test ideas, post clips, see what hits, and start building momentum. So I am not anti-platform. That would be stupid. Platforms are roads. Platforms are highways. Platforms are marketplaces. Platforms are loudspeakers. Platforms are outposts. But they are not your land. That is the part people forget. They are rented land, and rented land has rules. You can build something amazing on rented land. You can decorate it. You can invite people in. You can make it feel like yours. But if someone else owns the land, they can change the rules. They can change the gate. They can change the road that leads to you. They can move you to the back of the map. They can decide your kind of content is no longer favored. They can say your tone does not fit the new guidelines. Or worse, they can say nothing at all. They can just stop sending people. Same work, same effort, same message, same creator. But suddenly nobody sees it. That is the algorithm. That is rented land. And this is why people lose their minds online. They mistake access for ownership. They mistake followers for control. They mistake views for stability. They mistake reach for loyalty. They mistake a good week for a foundation. They mistake a hot video for a business. Then the numbers drop, and they panic. I get it. You post something, it takes off, and suddenly you think, oh shit, maybe this is working. Maybe I figured it out. Maybe the machine likes me. Then the next one dies. Then something old randomly takes off 2 days later. Then another one gets buried for no reason you can understand. And now you are trying to read the algorithm like it is some kind of ancient prophecy. Did I post too early? Was the hook bad? Did I use the wrong hashtag? Did I say the wrong word? Did I anger the machine? Maybe. Maybe not. That is the problem. You do not fully know. Because the platform is not built to give you full control. It is built to keep users on the platform. You are part of the system. You are not the owner of the system. That does not mean you quit. That does not mean you stop posting. That does not mean you act like social media is evil and go live in a cabin yelling at trees. No. Use the platforms. Use the roads. Use the marketplaces. Use the loudspeakers. Use the attention. Use the reach. Use the tools. But do not confuse the outpost with the base. Your YouTube channel is an outpost. Your TikTok is an outpost. Your Facebook page is an outpost. Your Twitch stream is an outpost. Your Instagram is an outpost. Your X account is an outpost. They matter. They are useful. They can be powerful. But they are not the base. The base is where you send people when the platform gets weird. The base is where your archive lives. The base is where people can find your episodes, your services, your links, your contact, your work, your store, your community, your offer. The base is where your identity is clear. The base is where the algorithm does not decide whether you exist today. And this matters even more now because AI is changing the internet. Search is changing. Content is changing. Discovery is changing. People are getting flooded with noise. The value of trust is going up. The value of clarity is going up. The value of having a real place people can go is going up. Because when everything starts to look fake, automated, copied, scraped, remixed, and mass-produced, a real base matters. A real voice matters. A real archive matters. A real brand matters. A real website matters. A real community matters. That is how people know you are not just another disposable account screaming into the feed. So yeah, post on social media. Use every platform you can handle. Test clips. Test hooks. Test ideas. Learn what people respond to. Build the outposts. But understand the relationship. Platforms are rented land. Algorithms are weather. Attention is a resource. Trust is the asset. And the base is what lets you survive when the weather changes. Your website is your home system. So let's bring this back to the website, because I know somebody is going to hear this and say, okay, Max Delta, I get it. Build your base. But why does the website matter so much? Because your website is your home system. That is the easiest way I can explain it. In EVE Online, your home system matters. In survival games, your base matters. In RPGs, your hub matters. In strategy games, your command center matters. In real life, your website is the place where everything connects. It is not just a digital business card. That is the old way of thinking about it. A real website is your map room, your archive, your mission board, your contact point, your storefront, your radio tower, your recruiting office, your proof of work, your home system. Think about what happens when someone hears about you. They see a clip, they hear a podcast, they read a post, they see a comment, they meet you somewhere, they hear your business name, they hear your creator name, they hear your show name. What do they do next? They search, they click, they look. They decide in about 10 seconds whether this looks real or not. And that matters, because people are overwhelmed, they are tired, they are skeptical. They have seen 1,000 fake gurus, fake brands, dead pages, abandoned accounts, broken links, half-finished projects, and people who talk a huge game but have nowhere to send anyone. So when someone lands on your site, the question is simple. Does this look alive? Does this make sense? Can I understand what this is? Can I find the episodes? Can I find the videos? Can I find the links? Can I contact this person? Can I trust this is a real thing? That is what a website answers. And this applies to almost everyone. If you are a creator, your website is where your content lives. If you are a streamer, your website is where your schedule, clips, links, and community live. If you are a local business, your website is where customers figure out what you do and how to hire you. If you are a contractor, your website is where people see your work. If you are an author, your website is where your books, updates, and world live. If you are a podcaster, your website is where your episodes, notes, clips, and links live. If you are building anything, your website is the place people can return to when the feed forgets you. That last part matters. The feed forgets you. The feed is always hungry. You post something today, and tomorrow it is buried under 1,000 other things. Even if it does well, it keeps moving. That is how feeds work. Feeds are rivers. A website is a dock. A feed is motion. A website is location. A feed is attention. A website is memory. This is why I built the Max Delta Hour site. Not because it is perfect. It is not. Not because I had some giant master plan figured out. I did not. I built it because I needed a home system. A place where episode 1 could live. Then episode 2. Then the brief videos. Then the archive. Then the blog. Then the links. Then the sponsor. Then whatever comes next. That is the point. You do not build the perfect base on day 1. You put down the foundation, then you upgrade it. Episode 1 gave me a reason to build the first version. Episode 2 made the system real. Episode 3 is me realizing this is not just a podcast topic. This is the whole strategy. Build the base, then keep adding to it. And that is how people should think about their own projects. Do not wait until everything is perfect. Do not wait until the logo is perfect. Do not wait until the copy is perfect. Do not wait until you have the perfect brand voice, perfect offer, perfect product, perfect audience, perfect timing, perfect anything. Perfect is a trap. Perfect is where projects go to die. Start with clear. Start with useful. Start with alive. Can people find you? Can people understand what you do? Can people take the next step? If the answer is yes, you have a starting base. Then you improve it. You clean it up. You add pages. You add proof. You add content. You add links. You add better images. You add better writing. You add better calls to action. You patch the base as you grow. That is the part I like. Because building a website is not just a tech thing, it is a clarity thing. It forces you to answer questions you might have been avoiding. What is this? Who is it for? What do I want people to do? What am I offering? What am I building? What should people remember? That is uncomfortable, but it is useful. Because if you cannot explain what you are building on one page, there is a good chance it is still messy in your own head. The website forces the idea to become real. And once it is real, you can improve it. So no, your website does not need to be a giant corporate machine. It does not need to cost a fortune. It does not need to have 50 pages. It does not need to be overbuilt. But it should exist. Because if you are trying to build something in this world, you need somewhere people can go that is yours. A home system, a command center, a base. And when the algorithm gets weird, when the feed moves on, when the platform changes, when the patch notes drop again, you will be glad you built one. Social media is an outpost. So if the website is the home system, then social media is the outpost. And I want to be clear, outposts matter. You need outposts. You need places where people discover you. You need places where your signal can travel. You need places where the fight is actually happening. Because nobody is just sitting around randomly checking your website every morning unless you give them a reason to. That is where social media comes in. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, X, Discord, whatever platform you are using. These places are not worthless. They are incredibly useful. They are where people hang out. They are where conversations happen. They are where clips spread. They are where ideas get tested. They are where you find out if anyone gives a damn about what you are saying. And that matters. But you have to understand the role. An outpost is not the kingdom. An outpost is not the capital city. An outpost is not where all your treasure should live. An outpost is a forward position, a watchtower, a signal fire, a place you use to reach people, a place you use to listen, a place you use to test, a place you use to bring people back to the base. That is the part people miss. They build the outpost like it is the base. Then they get shocked when the outpost gets overrun. They put everything on one platform. Every customer, every follower, every contact, every announcement, every video, every post, every update, every ounce of trust they have built. And then the platform changes. The reach drops. The page gets flagged. The account gets locked. The algorithm shifts. The audience moves. The culture changes. And suddenly, their whole operation is sitting on unstable ground. That is bad strategy. In gaming terms, imagine building your entire empire on a forward base with no supply line. No fallback, no storage, no repair bay, no respawn point, no backup route. Just one exposed position way out in the open. It might work for a while. You might get kills, you might take territory. You might feel like a genius. Then somebody cuts the road behind you. Now what? That is what happens when your entire online life depends on one platform. You are not building, you are camping. And eventually, the map moves. The better strategy is simple. Use social media to send signals. Use your website to hold the structure. Use YouTube to host long videos and clips. Use TikTok for short attention bursts. Use Facebook for your real network and early support. Use Twitch for live energy. Use Discord for community. Use the website as the place where it all connects. That is the system. Not one platform, a network. Not one road, a map. Not one outpost, a base with multiple signal towers. That is how you survive changes. That is how you grow without being completely owned by the algorithm. And this is not just for creators. This is for businesses too. A restaurant should not only exist on Facebook. A contractor should not only exist on a referral app. A streamer should not only exist on Twitch. An author should not only exist on Amazon. A podcaster should not only exist on Spotify. A local business should not only exist on Google Maps. Use those places, absolutely, but do not make them the whole identity. Because the second someone asks, "Where can I find everything?" you should have an answer. That answer should not be, "Well, scroll through my Facebook posts from 6 months ago, and maybe the algorithm will show it to you." No. The answer should be, "Go here. That is my site. That is the archive. That is the show. That is the contact page. That is the offer. That is the community. That is the base." That is why I look at social media differently now. Every post is not just a post. It is a flare. Every short video is not just a clip. It is a signal. Every stream is not just a stream. It is an event. Every comment section is not just noise. It is feedback. Every share is not just a number. It is a road back to the base. That is the game. Use the outposts. Build them. Upgrade them. Defend them. But do not confuse them with home. Because outposts get hit. Outposts get nerfed. Outposts get abandoned. Outposts lose traffic. Outposts get buried. Outposts depend on someone else's map. The base is where your thing actually lives. So build the outposts, but build the base first. Or at least build them together. Because if all your signal points outward and none of it leads home, you are just making noise on rented land. Skills are part of your base. Now let's talk about skills. Because a base is not just a website, a base is not just money, a base is not just a place people can find you. Your skills are part of your base too. Maybe the most important part. Because skills travel with you. A job can go away. A platform can change. A market can shift. An algorithm can bury you. A company can decide you are no longer needed. But skills? Skills stay with you. Skills are portable. Skills are inventory you do not drop when the server crashes. And this is something people need to take seriously right now, because the world is moving fast. AI is changing things. Automation is changing things. The economy is changing things. Customer behavior is changing. Media is changing. Work is changing. And a lot of people are still acting like the build they used 10 years ago is going to carry them forever. It might not. That does not mean panic. That does not mean doom. That does not mean everyone is screwed. It means adapt. It means look at your skill tree honestly. What do you know how to do? What can you learn? What can you stack? What can you improve? What skill makes you harder to replace? What skill makes you more useful? What skill gives you more options? That is the game. This is where gaming teaches the lesson perfectly. If you only level one thing, you might be strong in one situation. But when the meta changes, you can get exposed. Maybe your damage is good, but you have no mobility. Maybe your tank is strong, but you have no range. Maybe your gear is expensive, but you do not understand the map. Maybe your build worked great until the patch notes hit. Real life is the same way. You need a skill stack. Not because you have to be amazing at everything. You do not. But because one skill by itself can be fragile. Sales plus writing is stronger than sales alone. Tech plus communication is stronger than tech alone. Video plus storytelling is stronger than video alone. Business plus content is stronger than business alone. Finance plus discipline is stronger than finance alone. Gaming plus systems thinking is stronger than just playing games. That is what a skill stack does. It gives you combinations, and combinations create options. That is one of the reasons I wanted to learn websites. Not because I am trying to pretend I am some elite Silicon Valley genius. I am not. I am learning because I need the skill. I need to be able to build things. I need to understand how the pieces connect. I need to be able to take an idea and turn it into something real. A site, a landing page, a podcast hub, a video archive, a business page, a form, a link system, a place where the idea becomes visible. That matters. Because when you can build even basic things, you are less trapped. You are less dependent on waiting for someone else. You are less stuck saying, "I have an idea," and more able to say, "Here it is." That is a huge difference. And skills do not have to be glamorous. Budgeting is a skill. Writing is a skill. Speaking is a skill. Editing is a skill. Learning software is a skill. Using AI correctly is a skill. Reading contracts is a skill. Networking is a skill. Staying calm under pressure is a skill. Showing up consistently is a skill. Not quitting every time something gets annoying is a skill. And honestly, that last one might be one of the biggest ones, because people quit fast. They hit friction and immediately think it means they are bad at it. No. Friction is part of leveling. You are supposed to be bad at first. You are supposed to be confused. You are supposed to break things. You are supposed to ask stupid questions. You are supposed to feel like the interface was designed by a hostile alien race. That is normal. That is learning. The danger is staying unskilled on purpose. The danger is saying, I am just not a tech person. I am just not good with money. I am just not creative. I am just not good at writing. I am just not good at this. Be careful with that. Because sometimes I am just not becomes a prison sentence you wrote for yourself. Maybe you are not good yet. That is different. Yet leaves the door open. Yet means you can level it. Yet means the skill tree is still available. So build your base by building your skills. Pick one thing. Learn it. Use it. Break it. Fix it. Repeat. Then add another. You do not need to become a master overnight. You need to become more capable than you were last month. That is the standard. More capable. More dangerous. More useful. More adaptable. Because the game is real. The patch notes are real. And the people who keep leveling their skills are the ones who survive the updates. Money is part of your base. Now let's talk about money. Because money is absolutely part of your base. And I know people get weird about money. Some people worship it. Some people pretend it does not matter. Some people act like talking about money is dirty. Some people act like wanting more control over your money means you are greedy. No, that is nonsense. Money is not everything, but money is armor. Money is ammo. Money is stamina. Money is fast travel. Money is what gives you breathing room when life starts throwing garbage at you. When you have no money, every problem hits harder. A flat tire becomes a crisis. A medical bill becomes a spiral. A missed check becomes panic. A slow work week becomes fear. Bad debt becomes a debuff that drains you every month. And that is why money matters. Not because money makes you better than anyone else. Not because money solves every problem. But because money gives you options. And options are part of survival. If the base is supposed to help you survive the patch notes, then money is one of the walls around it. Your emergency fund is a wall. Your income is a wall. Your budget is a wall. Your debt plan is a wall. Your ability to say no is a wall. Your ability to wait is a wall. Your ability to not panic is a wall. And when those walls are weak, life gets through fast. That does not mean you need to be rich tomorrow. That is not what I am saying. I am saying you need to know where you stand. You need to know what is coming in. You need to know what is going out. You need to know what is draining you. You need to know what is helping you. You need to stop pretending the money system does not matter while it is actively farming you. Because that is what bad debt does. It farms you. Every month. Interest hits. Minimum payments hit. Fees hit. Stress hits. And suddenly you are grinding hard, but your progress bar barely moves. That is a brutal feeling. A lot of people know exactly what I'm talking about. You work, you get paid, you pay bills. You look up. And somehow you are still in the same damn spot. That is not always because you are lazy. Sometimes it is because the system is built to keep pulling resources out of you before you can build anything. So you have to fight back with a plan. Not vibes, not hope, a plan. And the plan does not have to be fancy. Start with the basics. What do I owe? What are the interest rates? What are the minimum payments? What can I attack first? What can I cut? What can I sell? What can I build? What can I learn? Where am I leaking money? Where am I spending out of stress? Where am I buying comfort because I'm burned out? That last one matters, because money is not just math. Money is emotional. Money is stress. Money is fear. Money is pride. Money is shame. Money is hope. Money is pressure. And if you ignore that side of it, you will keep making the same mistakes and then wonder why the spreadsheet did not save you. The goal is not to become some soulless robot who never enjoys life. That is stupid. The goal is to stop being controlled by chaos. You can still have fun. You can still buy things. You can still enjoy your life. But you need to know the difference between spending from strength and spending from weakness. Spending from strength is planned. Spending from weakness is panic. Spending from strength fits the mission. Spending from weakness is trying to numb the mission. And we have all done it. I am not preaching from a mountain here. I am in the fight too. That is why I talk about it this way. Because money is not some abstract financial lecture. It is part of the game. And if you are building anything, your money base matters. If you want to start a business, money matters. If you want to create content, money matters. If you want to change jobs, money matters. If you want to take a risk, money matters. If you want to leave a bad situation, money matters. If you want to help your family, money matters. If you want to survive a bad month without everything collapsing, money matters. Money gives you room to move, and room to move is power. So build the money part of your base. Track it, face it, clean it up, pay down the bad debt, build the emergency fund, learn the basics, invest when you can. Stop letting shame keep you from looking at the numbers, because the numbers are not there to insult you. They are there to tell you the map. And once you can read the map, you can start moving differently. The game is real. The patch notes are real. And money is one of the systems you cannot afford to ignore. Community is part of your base. Now let's talk about community. Because a base is not just walls. A base is not just tools. A base is not just money. A base is not just skills. A base is also people. And I think a lot of people underestimate this. They think they can do everything alone. They think asking for help is weakness. They think building around people means begging for support. No, that is not what community is. Community is not begging. Community is connection. Community is trust. Community is feedback. Community is people who actually know what you are building. Community is the difference between yelling into the void and sending a signal to people who might actually hear it. And this is one of the reasons I am building the Max Delta Hour the way I am. The podcast is part of it. The website is part of it. The briefs are part of it. The social media clips are part of it. But the community is where it starts becoming alive. Because once people start responding, giving feedback, sharing ideas, challenging you, helping you improve, and showing up again, now it is not just content. Now it is a campfire. And that matters. Every good base needs people around it. In gaming, solo can be fun. Solo can be rewarding. Solo can teach you a lot. But even the best solo player understands the value of allies. Someone watching the flank, someone calling out danger, someone sharing resources, someone who knows the map, someone who tells you when your build is stupid, someone who helps you recover after a bad fight. That is community. It does not mean everyone agrees on everything. It does not mean everyone thinks the same. It does not mean everyone has to act like some fake positive cult. Real community can argue. Real community can disagree. Real community can roast you a little bit. Real community can tell you, hey man, that part did not land, or that was good, do more of that. That kind of feedback is valuable. Because when you build alone, your own head becomes an echo chamber. You can convince yourself something is great when it is not. You can convince yourself something sucks when it is actually working. You can quit too early. You can keep going in the wrong direction. You can miss obvious problems because you are too close to the project. Community helps correct that. Not perfectly, people can be wrong too, but feedback gives you data. Support gives you energy. Accountability gives you pressure, and pressure is not always bad. Sometimes pressure is what keeps the mission moving. That is why Discord matters. That is why comments matter. That is why shares matter. That is why early supporters matter. When someone listens to episode 1, when someone checks out episode 2, when someone watches a brief, when someone says, keep going, that matters. It might seem small from the outside, but when you are building something new, those early signals are fuel. They tell you this thing is not just sitting dead on the ground. They tell you somebody sees it, somebody hears it, somebody gets it. And that can push you through the awkward early stage where everything still feels half-built. But here is the warning. Do not build your community only on rented land either. A Facebook audience is great. A TikTok audience is great. YouTube subscribers are great. Twitch followers are great. But again, those are outposts. The deeper community needs a place to gather. A Discord, an email list, a website, a forum, something. Somewhere people can stay connected when the feed moves on. Because the feed is bad at memory. The feed is built for the next thing. Community is built around return. People coming back. People recognizing the mission. People knowing the language. People understanding the inside jokes. People becoming part of the culture. That is when it starts becoming real. And this is not just for podcasts or creators. Businesses need community too. Customers who trust you. People who refer you. People who remember your name. People who defend your reputation. People who come back. People who say, I know a guy. That is community. That is an asset. And you do not build it by accident. You build it by showing up. You build it by being useful. You build it by being clear. You build it by not treating people like numbers on a dashboard. Because people can feel that. They know when they are just being farmed for clicks. They know when something is fake. They know when somebody is just trying to extract attention and disappear. So build community into your base. Give people a place to go. Give people a reason to return. Give people something real to connect with. Because when the patch notes hit, when the platform shifts, when the numbers dip, when motivation gets low, community is one of the things that keeps the fire going. The game is real. The patch notes are real. And nobody builds a strong base completely alone. Gaming lesson. Home systems. This is where gaming explains the whole thing better than any business book can. Because gamers already understand the base instinctively. You understand the value of a home system. You understand the value of a spawn point. You understand the value of a safe zone. You understand the value of a repair station. You understand the value of storage. You understand the value of having somewhere to go when the fight gets ugly. That is not complicated. That is survival. In EVE Online, your home system matters. It is where your ships are. It is where your assets are. It is where your doctrine lives. It is where your logistics connect. It is where your people know to form up. It is where you come back after a bad fight. If your home system is weak, everything is harder. If your logistics are bad, everything is slower. If your assets are scattered everywhere, everything is more stressful. If nobody knows where to go, nobody moves together. That is not just a game lesson. That is life. Same thing in survival games. You can run around grabbing random loot for a while, and that is fun. You get some food, some tools, a weapon, maybe some armor. Maybe you get lucky. But eventually night comes. Eventually enemies show up. Eventually the weather hits. Eventually you need somewhere to put the loot. Eventually you need walls. You need a bed. You need storage. You need fire. You need a workbench. You need a place to heal. You need a place to plan the next run. That is the base. Without it, every trip is chaos. With it, every trip has a purpose. That is the difference. A base turns random activity into progress. Without a base, you are just running around the map collecting things. With a base, every resource has somewhere to go. Every upgrade has a reason. Every mission connects to the bigger plan. That is what people miss in real life. They are busy, they are active, they are working, they are posting, they are spending, they are reacting, they are grinding, but none of it is connected. So they get exhausted, but they do not feel like they are building anything. That is because activity is not the same as progress. Grinding is not the same as strategy. Movement is not the same as direction. A base gives direction. A base tells you what the mission is. Are we gathering resources? Are we upgrading defenses? Are we recruiting? Are we expanding? Are we repairing? Are we preparing for the next fight? Are we building something that lasts? That is why the base matters. It gives all the random actions a place in the system. And this is where people need to be honest with themselves. Is your life organized around a base? Or are you just reacting to whatever pops up on the screen? Because that is NPC mode. Wake up, react, scroll, work, spend, get mad, get distracted, repeat. Player mode is different. Player mode asks, what am I building? What resources do I need? What systems are weak? What skill needs leveling? What debt needs killing? What relationship needs attention? What tool do I need to learn? What part of my base needs an upgrade? That is a different way to live. And no, it does not mean life becomes easy. Games are not easy just because you have a base. You still get attacked, you still make mistakes, you still lose fights, you still waste resources, you still misread the map. you still get humbled. But with a base, you can recover. That is the point. A good base does not mean you never lose. It means losing does not end the whole run. You respawn, you repair, you regroup, you learn, you go again. That is life. That is business. That is content. That is money. That is everything. So when I say build your base, I am not saying build some perfect fortress that protects you from every bad thing forever. That is fantasy. I am saying build something that lets you recover faster, think clearer, move smarter, store value, connect with people, control more of your own map, because the game is real, the patch notes are real, and players who have a home system survive longer than players wandering around with full inventory and no plan. Real life examples. Now let's make this real. Because it is easy to say, build your base, and have it sound like some motivational poster nonsense. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. A local contractor builds a base when he has a clean website, photos of his work, reviews, contact info, and a simple way for someone to request a quote. Now, he is not just some guy who does work. He has proof. He has a place to send people. He has a base. A streamer builds a base when they stop relying only on going live and hoping people show up. They have a schedule. They have clips. They have a Discord. They have a YouTube archive. They have a website where everything connects. Now the stream is not just a random event. It is part of a system. A writer builds a base when their books, updates, sample chapters, links, email list, and world all live somewhere people can actually find. Not buried in old posts, not scattered across 5 platforms, a real home. A place where someone can go from curious to interested to following to buying. A regular person builds a base when they clean up their money. They know their bills. They know their debts. They know what they are attacking first. They have a small emergency fund started. They are not pretending the numbers do not exist. That is a base. Not glamorous, not flashy, but real. A worker builds a base when they develop skills outside their job description. Maybe they learn AI tools. Maybe they learn spreadsheets. Maybe they learn writing. Maybe they learn sales. Maybe they learn video. Maybe they learn code. Maybe they learn how to present ideas clearly. Now, if the job changes, they are not helpless. They have more than one weapon equipped. A creator builds a base when every piece of content has a direction. The short clips lead to the long episodes. The long episodes lead to the website. The website leads to the archive. The archive leads to the community. The community leads back to the next episode. That is not random posting. That is a loop. That is a system. That is how a base starts becoming alive. And this is where people overcomplicate it. They think the base has to be massive. It does not. A base can start as one page, one offer, one link, one video archive, one clean bio, one landing page, one Discord, one emergency fund, one skill you are learning, one notebook with a plan, one folder where your ideas stop disappearing. That counts. Because the first version of a base is not supposed to be perfect. It is supposed to give you somewhere to build from. That is how I look at the Max Delta Hour right now. This thing is early, very early. Episode 1 was me putting the flag in the ground. Episode 2 proved there was a system. Episode 3 is me saying out loud what I am actually doing. I am building the base while I am talking about building the base. The website is not perfect. The logo is not perfect. The process is not perfect. The audio workflow is not perfect. The social media strategy is not perfect. But it exists. And because it exists, I can improve it. That is the key. You cannot upgrade something that does not exist. You cannot patch a base you never built. You cannot improve a system you never started. So when people say, I am not ready, I get it. But ready is a trap. You get ready by building. You get clearer by publishing. You get better by doing reps. You learn where the weak spots are by actually using the thing. That is why the base matters. It gives you feedback. It shows you what is missing. It forces you to organize. It turns the idea from smoke into something you can touch. So look at your own life. Where are you exposed? Where are you scattered? Where are you too dependent on one platform, one job, one income stream, one skill, one person, one plan? That is probably where your base needs work. Do not panic. Do not spiral. Just identify the weak wall and start upgrading it. That is the game. That is the work. And that is how you stop wandering around the map with no cover. Middle rant. Let's say, here is the part that annoys me. A lot of people know they need to build something. They know they need to get their money right. They know they need to learn new skills. They know they need to stop depending on one platform. They know they need to stop waiting around for somebody else to save them. But they do not move. They just sit there. And I get it. Life is heavy. People are tired. People are stressed. People are getting punched from every direction. Bills, work, family, politics, prices, health, algorithms, news, AI, job pressure, culture war nonsense. Everything feels loud. So it becomes easy to say, I will start later. I will build later. I will learn later. I will fix it later. I will post later. I will launch later. I will get serious later. But later is dangerous. Later is where momentum goes to die. Let's say, and I am not saying that from some perfect high ground. I have done it too. I have sat on ideas. I have overthought things. I have waited for the perfect version. I have looked at a project and thought, this is not ready yet. Then months go by. Nothing gets built. Nothing gets posted. Nothing gets launched. And then you look around and realize the problem was not that the idea needed more time. The problem was that you were afraid to make the first ugly version real. That is the trap. People want the polished version before they create the first version. But the first version is supposed to be rough. The first base in a survival game is not a castle. It is a shack. It is ugly. It leaks. The layout sucks. You put the chest in the wrong place. The door faces the wrong way. You forgot a wall. Then the enemy shows up and teaches you what you built wrong. That is how it works. You build, you get hit, you patch, you upgrade. That's real life is the same. Your first website might be rough. Your first episode might be rough. Your first video might be rough. Your first budget might be ugly. Your first business offer might need work. Your first attempt at learning code might make you feel like your brain is melting. Good. That means you are in the game. You are not watching from the menu anymore. You are playing. And playing is messy. Let's say that is what I want people to understand. You do not need permission to start building. You do not need the perfect time. You do not need everyone to understand it. You do not need the entire world to clap. Most people are not paying attention anyway, and some of the people who are paying attention are just waiting to see if you quit. Do not give them that. Build anyway. Post anyway. Learn anyway. Fix the money anyway. Make the ugly first version anyway. Because the person who builds badly and improves is ahead of the person who is still planning perfectly and doing nothing. That's in one more thing. Stop acting like confusion means failure. Confusion is normal. Confusion is what happens when you are entering a new zone. You do not know the map yet. You do not know the enemies yet. You do not know the mechanics yet. You do not know what matters yet. That does not mean quit. That means scout. That means learn. That means ask questions. That means test. That means stop pretending you are supposed to understand everything instantly. Nobody does. Everybody starts somewhere. So build your base, not because it will make life easy, it will not. Not because it will protect you from every bad thing, it will not. Build it because it gives you a place to recover, a place to think, a place to improve, a place to store value, a place to send people, a place to keep going when the feed gets quiet and the world gets loud. That is the mission. Build the first version, patch it as you go. And stop waiting for perfect while the game keeps moving without you. What Max Delta is building. So let me talk about what I am building, because this episode is not theoretical for me. I am not sitting here saying, build your base while doing nothing. The Max Delta Hour is me building mine in real time. Episode 1 was the first flag. The game is real. That was the foundation. It was me saying, this is how I see the world. Politics is connected to money. Money is connected to technology. Technology is connected to culture. Culture is connected to incentives. Gaming taught me how to read systems, and real life is full of systems. That was the first piece of the base. Episode 2 was the next wall. The patch notes are real. That episode was about the rules changing: elections, AI, money, media, trust, platforms, institutions, the scoreboard. The things people think are background noise until suddenly they are standing in the middle of their life wondering why everything feels different. That was the second piece. The rules change, the meta shifts, the map updates. And if you are not paying attention, you get caught playing the old version. Now, episode 3 is the next upgrade. Build your base. This is where the project starts becoming more than just a podcast. It becomes a system. The website is part of that system. The audio episodes are part of that system. The Max Delta briefs are part of that system. The YouTube channel is part of that system. TikTok is part of that system. Twitch is part of that system. Discord is part of that system. The sponsor is part of that system. The archive is part of that system. And eventually, the books, the articles, the clips, the community, and whatever else this becomes will all connect back to the same base. That is the plan. Not perfect, not finished, but real. And that matters to me, because I spent too long thinking about building things instead of building them. I spent too long waiting for the right version, the right timing, the right confidence, the right setup, the right everything. And at some point, you have to stop doing that. You have to say, no, I'm going to build the first version. I'm going to launch the imperfect thing. I'm going to let people see it while it is still growing. I'm going to improve it in public. I'm going to take the feedback. I'm going to patch the weak spots. I'm going to keep going. That is what this is. The Max Delta Hour is not arriving fully formed like some giant media company. It is being built, piece by piece, week by week, episode by episode. And honestly, that is the part that excites me. Because every week there is a new upgrade, a better page, a cleaner archive, a new episode, a better clip, a stronger idea, a new link, a new listener, a new person in the community, a new lesson from something that broke. That is how the base grows, not in one giant magical moment, but through reps, through patches, through mistakes, through momentum. And I want people to see that, not just the finished product someday. I want people to see the build, because maybe somebody listening has been sitting on their own thing, a podcast, a business, a book, a website, a channel, a service, a skill, a plan, something they keep thinking about but never launch. And maybe watching me build this thing, messy as it is, gives them permission to start. Not because I have it all figured out, I do not, but because I finally started moving. That is the difference. Movement changes everything. So that is what Max Delta is building. A podcast, a website, a media base, a community. A place where politics, gaming, money, culture, technology, and real-life systems all connect. A place for people who know something feels off, but do not want the fake, polished answer. A place for people who still like humor, games, chaos, strategy, and real talk. A place for people who want to stop playing like NPCs and start reading the map. That is the mission. That is the base. And it is just getting started. What listeners should build. So now let's turn this back on you. What should you build? Because it is easy to listen to this and think, yeah, that makes sense. Build your base. Have a plan. Own your space. Get your money right. Level your skills. Build community. Cool. But then the episode ends, life gets loud again, and nothing changes. So let's make it simple. Do not try to rebuild your entire life in one weekend. That is how people burn out. Start with one weak wall, one exposed area, one place where you know you are too dependent, too scattered, or too unprepared. That is where you start. If you are building a business, build the page. Not the perfect page, the clear page. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you help? How do people contact you? What proof do you have? That is enough to start. If you are a creator, build the hub. Where are the episodes? Where are the videos? Where are the clips? Where are the links? Where should people go if one platform stops showing your posts? That is your base. If your money is the weak wall, face the numbers. Write down what you owe. Write down what comes in. Write down what goes out. Pick the first target. Start attacking. Not emotionally, strategically. If your skills are the weak wall, pick one skill and start leveling it. Writing, speaking, video editing, sales, AI tools, websites, spreadsheets, budgeting, fitness, whatever actually helps your life. Pick one. Do reps. Stop waiting to feel ready. If your community is the weak wall, reconnect. Reach out. Join the Discord. Join a group. Talk to people who are building. Give feedback. Ask questions. Stop trying to figure everything out in total isolation. Isolation makes every problem heavier. And if you do not know where to start with this question. Where am I most exposed? That is the map marker. That is the quest objective. Where am I one bad update away from chaos? One account issue, one job change, one bill, one platform shift, one unexpected problem, one piece of bad RNG. That is where you start building. And do not make this mystical. Do not turn it into some giant self-help ceremony. You do not need to light a candle, stare at a mountain, and discover your sacred productivity animal. Just do the next useful thing. Make the list, buy the domain, write the page, record the clip, open the spreadsheet, pay the debt, learn the tool, post the first ugly version, ask the question, fix the broken thing, move one resource into the base. That is how it starts. Because the people who win are not always the smartest. They are not always the richest. They are not always the most talented. A lot of the time, they are just the people who kept building while everyone else kept talking. They took the hit. They patched the wall. They learned the skill. They made the adjustment. They kept moving. That is not glamorous, but it works. And here is the best part. Once you start building your base, your mindset changes. You stop feeling completely helpless. You stop waiting for the algorithm to bless you. You stop waiting for the job to define you. You stop waiting for politics to calm down. You stop waiting for the economy to feel perfect. You stop waiting for permission. You start asking, what can I build? What can I improve? What can I control? What can I learn? What can I connect? What can I make stronger before the next patch hits? That is player mode. That is the shift. So build something this week. One thing, one upgrade, one wall, one tool, one page, one plan, one habit, one connection, one skill rep. Do not just listen to this and nod. Move. Because the game is real. The patch notes are real. And the base does not build itself. Close. Jim. So that is episode 3. Build your base. Because that is the next step. Episode 1 was the game is real. Episode 2 was the patch notes are real. And episode 3 is the answer. Build your base. Not someday, not when everything is perfect, not when you finally feel ready. Now. Start small. Start ugly if you have to. Start with one page, one plan, one skill, one debt target, one folder, one outpost, one community, one place where your work starts to live. Because every strong base starts as something smaller than people imagine. A flag in the ground, a wall, a workbench, a storage chest, a map, a signal fire, something. Jen, and do not let perfect stop you. Perfect is a trap. Perfect feels smart because it sounds like standards, but a lot of the time, perfect is just fear wearing a nice jacket. It is fear saying, not yet. Make it better first. Wait until you know more. Wait until people understand. Wait until it looks professional. Wait until the timing is right. No, the timing is rarely right. The first version is rarely beautiful. The first attempt is rarely smooth. The first base is rarely impressive, but it exists. And once it exists, you can patch it. You can upgrade it. You can reinforce it. You can expand it. You can make it better. That is how building works. Jen, that is what I am doing with the Max Delta Hour. I am building the base while I am learning how to build the base. The podcast, the website, the shorts, the archive, the Discord, the sponsor, the social channels, the whole thing. It is not finished. It is not perfect, but it is real. And that is the difference. Real can improve. Real can grow. Real can get feedback. Real can get support. Real can become something. An idea sitting in your head cannot. Jen, so here is the challenge. Build one thing this week. Not 10, one. One upgrade to your base. Fix one weak wall. Create one page. Record one clip. Write one offer. Start one budget. Learn one tool. Pay one bill down. Join one community. Reach out to one person. Clean up one system. Make one piece of your life less exposed than it was yesterday. That is it. That is how momentum starts. Jen, and if this episode hit for you, share it. Send it to somebody who keeps talking about building something but never starts. Send it to somebody who is too dependent on one platform. Send it to somebody who needs to hear that the first version is allowed to be rough. And if you are building something yourself, come join the Discord. Tell us what you are working on. Tell us what your base is. Tell us what wall you are upgrading first. Because nobody builds a strong base completely alone. Jen, you can find everything at the Max Delta Hour website. The episodes, the videos, the briefs, the links, the archive, the whole base as it grows. And shout out again to Render North. If you need a website for your business, your stream, your brand, your side hustle, or your project, go to rendernorth.com. Build your base. Stop living entirely on rented land. Jen, that is it for episode 3. I am Max Delta. This is the Max Delta Hour. The game is real. The patch notes are real. And the base does not build itself. I will see you in the next one.